not prioritized enough to be banned away as frequently as some other things in the first rotation, but it's a great first pickup. Has that flexibility between 3 lanes, obviously strong early pressure, but also scales far better than it used to. Now, on the other side, I don't see too many surprises. The Leona going to be picked up really strong in case support, but also Wei getting his Olaf, which has been just a massive pressure point for the team, able to take those early skirmishes and establish pressure. I feel like for Ultra Prime, you know, into both Olaf and Leona, Braum is pretty strong. I'm not sure if you're going to prioritize it this early, but again, we're looking at that early pressure. Renekton's another flex pit. It's something that gives power. Might end up being a bit vulnerable if left alone, but they are going to lock that one in.
They are locking it in. I will say, Xiao's champion pool tends to be more on the major size. The Orianna, the Rises, of course, you mentioned the Vladimirs, and that's exactly where they're going to go. So that is a Renekton top with the Orianna being picked into mid lane. This actually opens up RNG to put Cryin onto a mage, something he's very, very comfortable with, and there's so many available to him on the board. He's got the Karma, the Lulu is still there. Those things combo great with the Olaf, as well as enabling something like a Jayce, which Xiaohu has shown he is massively proficient on.
Yeah, and this is one of the issues I'm feeling already with Ultra Prime's draft. Is that this feels like a sort of draft where you would lean heavily towards that top side. You know, Renekton at least in really strong top jungle 2v2, but again, RNG's top jungle, you've got to look at the nameplates. Jayce, Olaf, really powerful as well, so potentially some concerns there, but either way, we'll see how it pans out. RNG ban away the Thresh makes complete sense, limits the impact of that Aphelios pick, and obviously a good matchup with Leona. I think Braum or even the Tom Kench could be decent follow-up bans from them. For Ultra Prime, I feel like you can target mid laners here if you really want to. LeBlanc, a good ban, obviously applies a lot of pressure in that mid lane.
Good start up here for Ultra Prime as they look to just solidify themselves a position towards that playoff spot. A big win here if they can get it, but of course RNG still on the ascendancy, and RNG, they haven't really changed anything. I actually really like the Leona priority they've put in onto this right now, because they basically said, we know what we're trying to do. We're trying to put Gala on an island where he doesn't really have anything to worry about, and let Ming roam around the map is what made them so successful in spring. It was the combination of Ming and Wei roaming up the top and mid to impact those lanes that got them their spring championship, and as well for the MSI 2021. So with the Kalista ban, they are just kind of getting rid of all those very powerful combinations in the bot side, and now RNG, they've got themselves some pick priority. I imagine they go with the AD carry here and leave for the mid lane for that last pick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they have options. They could take mid lane, as they've already seen what Xiao has taken. They could take AD carry. I think it really comes down to whether you have a pick you're looking to prioritize instantly, and they are going to prioritize that Ziggs. We talked about the major spot lane before, and he is the one who's been super present. And this makes things a little bit difficult because, you know, I was talking about the Braum being good into the Leona, into the Olaf. It's not good into the Ziggs. It really struggles because he can just harass you down from a distance. Although AD carry pick can be a massive factor here. We can see Smlz toying with the Sivir. Spell Shield is a good tool against the Ziggs, and also you kind of match the wave clear later in the game.
I think that's the big thing. The Sivir does a very similar job to what this Ziggs wants to do, but the Yuumi and the Rakan, you're looking for a utility engage here for the side of Ultra Prime, something that can just attach itself to some of those divers like the Renekton and the Lee Sin, jump all the way into that back side. We won't talk about it until it's locked in, but it is the Yuumi here for Ultra Prime.
So I actually saw this in the LCK, NS Red Force against T1. They left the Ziggs open for Gumiashi, which, you know, he's been a monster on that champion. And they picked Yuumi into it. And the reason this worked is because level 1, the Ziggs just doesn't have the consistent damage to deal with you. You can step in front of the wave, you can harass him, Leona can't do anything level 1, and you apply that pressure. The poke from Ziggs can't hold up against the healing of the Yuumi, and then you're essentially in a scenario here where Yuumi should just be able to freely scale up and get out of lane. You know, it's a really powerful late game pick, and that's where the counters come from. So it's great to see Ultra Prime using that sort of counter that's been developed and finding a window for it here. I was a little bit concerned about some of the draft features for Ultra Prime, but I think they've secured themselves a good bot lane. That being said, it isn't going to be the most aggressive bot lane, so I expect to see them looking to try and contest on the top side, and the question still is, are they going to be able to hold up against Wei and Xiaohu?
I mean, the big thing I look at is going to be that R button from the Sivir, the go button, if you will, to get Renekton, to get Lee Sin on top of this Azir and Ziggs, and even the Jayce as well from Xiaohu. But you got to be very, very careful. We talked about how RNG are just so smart and so good at not taking unfavorable trades, choking you out of the map and out of resources. And I feel like the Sivir is great in the late game for clearing those waves, but is very, very dependent on if she's just left on an island.
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing with the Ziggs is that his wave play will spike sooner, right? After first pack, when you have, you know, typically something like a Lost Chapter, at least some extra mana, and you have a few points in your queue, that's when you can really start just annihilating waves. Sivir needs a little bit longer. Something I'm wondering is if we'll get to see the lethality Sivir coming out. I actually feel like this is a good place for it. The long range damage from the Q obviously is a pretty big threat to these squishier members. The only person you really need, you know, sustained damage against is that Olaf, but ultimately I don't think it's too much of a concern, especially when you have an Orianna. So we'll get to see how that turns out in the game, but you know, I need to see Smlz and ShiauC applying pressure from the early levels, from that level 1 point onwards. And what I think is really cool is that Smlz has been a player who's brought out more of those fringe picks, you know. We talked about the mages earlier. He was the one who brought out that Swain with Tom Kench. And I just like the innovation that comes out from Ultra Prime, especially when you're going up against a team like RNG.
Absolutely. We'll see if Ultra Prime's little adaptation is good enough to net them a first win in this best of 3, or if RNG are just too damn strong, as we jump onto the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3 between Ultra Prime and Royal Never Give Up.
Well, to see if any level 1 shenanigans come out. One thing that is a fact is obviously Olaf very threatening in that level 1, so always potential for invades to come through. Could end up seeing something like a map split if they want to invade on the top side, which would obviously leave ZS in a dire position.
Do you know what I love? I love that shenanigans has caught on. Everyone seems to say it now as like the level. It's the terminology for level 1 like fights or anything. It's like shenanigans, and it's just a curious little thing there for me as we see Xiaohu just checking that blue buff, seeing if anyone was starting it up. But nope, there's going to be Hacker spotted on the red. And Wei starting on his blue. So mirrored starts here for the RNG and Ultra Prime junglers. They're going to be pathing up towards that top side. This is almost always what we see from the side of RNG. They tend to just work towards that top side, give Xiaohu priority. Even if Wei doesn't get anything or do anything in top side, they know on the side of Ultra Prime that he's going to be around.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they know exactly where Hacker is, they know they're matching on that side of the map, it makes it very difficult for Hacker to really find a window to do something. So should be able to sort of, as we expect, put those resources in the top side. And already Xiaohu having a bit of fun on the Jayce. I'm not sure ZS is really having fun right now.
Always difficult. Jayce known to be a lane bully, and of course we're seeing the stigma of him not being so good into the later stage of the game being quashed and really not unfounded. Realistically, he's still a monster throughout most of the game. You just have to be very, very careful of those accelerated shock blasts. And just looking at the items here, actually to say that we're going to see them move straight onto ShiauC. ShiauC in a lot of trouble. He can't reconnect, and first blood goes over to RNG. Disaster in the bot lane for Ultra Prime.
It's just a massive mistake, you know. Smlz has cleansed and is the safe one in the matchup. ShiauC just can't be caught out sitting outside of the Sivir and getting engaged onto. RNG finding a window to punish this lane that was sort of picked as a counter for Ultra Prime, and when that starts to fall apart, it starts to feel like a bit of a disaster. Smlz going to be able to apply some pressure back, and now we're seeing a gank mid.
Oh, I love the pathing there from Hacker. Doesn't get anything apart from the flash, but he uses his safeguard to avoid the ward on the banana bush, so he's in total secrecy of going into a secret agent mission. Let's have a look. ShiauC just trying to be a nuisance. A great satchel charge to disconnect him from the server.
Yeah, really nice from Gala, honestly, to find that angle. And when you've been CC'd as the Yuumi, you can't reconnect to your AD carry, puts you in a really vulnerable spot, and just really good execution from the bot lane at RNG. But again, this shouldn't be happening for Ultra Prime, and the fact that they're slipping already in this lane, it is going to make things more difficult, because there will come a point where Gala can kind of just clear the waves endlessly, and then that allows Ming to roam. And the thing is, ShiauC, he's not nearly as effective as roaming. It's something he's been pretty solid at throughout the split, but when you're playing Yuumi, it just doesn't really open up that possibility.
It does not. We've seen now Leona going back. Ming just getting himself his boots and ruby crystals to set himself nicely in this way. And this is the beauty that you get with the Ziggs. You can just leave him on an island. There's no real kill pressure. You mentioned that when we saw the Sivir Uni locked in, it was all about those team fights in the mid to late stages of the game. And this early game is going to be a little bit more difficult now for Smlz and ShiauC. Your cat has lost all 3 of its summoners, the ignite, the heal, all down. And Smlz is just kind of sitting there knowing that they have to be a little bit more wary of an all-in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you start to get threatened by these all-ins, if Wei shows up, things will be really problematic. And actually, we've seen a really rough spot for ZS here. If you look at the wave state, this is heavily pushing towards Xiaohu. So he has to TP back in to kind of cement this in. He's just getting harassed down by ZS because he really needs this wave to crash. And I think he should be able to do it. You know, Wei's not on this side of the map, so Xiaohu doesn't have support, has to be a little bit wary of the jungle presence. But, you know, it puts you in a difficult spot when you're against a matchup like a Jayce, when you're being harassed, when your wave needs to crash, and you could actually see Hacker making a great decision to move up and just be there to support his laner. It's not necessarily going to be a gank, you know, unless the opportunity opens itself up, but it means that now ZS feels confident to push this wave in and should be able to just break that freeze.
That's exactly it. It's, you know, the idea that there is no vision right now for Ultra Prime on that top side. But with the Hacker being up top end, they know that he's probably up top end because he saw some deep vision being put down there by Ming and Wei. They now can take themselves a very early Drake. So first Drake of the game goes over to RNG. Next one in 5 minutes will be a Cloud. So we're heading towards a Mountain or Infernal Soul in about 10 minutes time. And this is where RNG tend to be very, very strong. They know exactly how to play the map. They're so smart with their plays around it. And yes, they're not gaining anything in terms of kills. As I say that, shouts about forced to flash away as Cryin almost gets the Shurima shuffle going for him. And RNG, again, small little moments where they look like they might find an opportunity. If you're not up for the task, you will be punished.
Yeah, and I mean, good reactions from just about to flash away from that one. Obviously, Cryin with no flash himself. Can't follow, but that's kind of one of the powers of the Azir and these mage against mage matchups is you can really easily set up a gank as long as your jungle's there in a position. But now Cryin, he's pretty low on mana, no flash, and I think they might be fishing for a shockwave combo here. Hacker could just safeguard into a sonic wave, but Cryin senses is able to back off in time.
Yeah, exactly what you said. They were looking to try and see if they can land the shockwave, and you know, no flash on the Azir, no ultimate as well, key enough, and very, very little mana. So you wonder if that shifting sands was even possible for the Azir at that point. As we go back and see exactly that it's about a 500-600 gold lead here for the side of RNG. Got that dragon obviously as well. We can see the spell shield being used by Smlz, not really to full effect. And this is the annoyance of the Sivir. It's why we saw it picked so often by Smlz into Varus, which unfortunately for him were 2 losses the last 2 times he played this in summer. But it is something that can have that same level of wave clear once you start stacking up that tier, which funny enough, Smlz did go with first.
Yeah, it gives that extra mana pool, and I think a big factor here is just harass going down to Gala and Ming, and it's very hard to trade back because Ziggs doesn't have that much sustained damage. The healing from the Yuumi and the spell shield from the Sivir means you're blocking a fair bit of the damage coming out from this bot lane 2v2, and the thing is, because Smlz is permanently at full health, the threat of an all-in is pretty low, especially with that cleanse. So until Leona can all in, she's not doing anything in this lane. She's kind of just standing there and offering presence, and allows Smlz and ShiauC just to harass, continue to shove endlessly. And right now, you know, Gala doesn't have too much of a mana pool. He's only really got the Doran's Ring and the Dark Seal. He's starting to get to the point where he can contest waves more easily, but you know, he has a limited mana pool to work with, and the fact of the matter is that Sivir has done a great job of being able to contest that.
Absolutely, and I think for Smlz specifically, like, you can't really all in the Sivir, cleanse, flash. Not only that, but ShiauC has heal, ignite. You've also have the spell block. So it's just, there's so many tools at your disposal here. As RNG now looking to see if they can contest this Rift Herald. They have not got priority just yet, but Rift Herald down to about 1800. Smites are available for both junglers. ShiauC about takes a accelerated shock blast to the face. There is going to be the Rift Herald taken as he jumps straight onto Hacker. Shockwave does not land onto anybody, and Hacker attacker loses his life in favor of that. The Super Mega Inferno Bomb down onto ZS, who uses Slice, the Dice, and the Flash to get himself out. They do gain themselves the Rift Herald to go on to ZS, but they lost one kill, and now RNG, where do you want to try and make a replay kind of reactional play?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they can really do too much to capitalize on this. And honestly, Ultra Prime, I think you can be happy with that one. One death for a Herald, you will take that. It is unfortunate it's the Jayce who ends up getting it, but I think in this situation, Ultra Prime know they can't really contest this one. Their bot lane a little bit late to this play compared to Ming, who was able to move earlier, and that's one of the issues with Yuumi, is that obviously Yuumi can't really move alone before the AD carry. And then this fight comes out, the shockwave whips, they end up just knowing they have to disengage. But again, Herald for a kill, you're fine with that, and now they're looking for a kill in return.
They are looking for a Xiaohu on this top side, who has no flash. He used it to engage to the skies and to the base with you, as Jayce does get taken down. Nice response kill here for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, and it potentially opens up a window where they could throw down the Herald. A big fact is ZS was the one who ended up grabbing it, so any Herald play kind of has to be around him, and as a result, we might just see it thrown down top, although I think not really willing to go for it right now with Wei there and clearing out the wave. So may just wait a little bit longer before they want to throw that one down. Jayce doesn't quite have that TP available, but it is coming up soon. So maybe if you're going for this play, it does need to be now.
I don't know if they really feel comfortable with it. This is the weird moment, if you will, from we see from teams that do pick up the Herald and not onto their jungler. They want to try and have the most optimal use of it, but sometimes that's just not possible. Sometimes you just have to take your win, get the 2 plates, and back yourself up. It's really something that we have to see as we come in now. Smlz, force a cleanse, flash, one more auto attack will do it. And without the Yuumi, the Sivir is a sitting duck to this bot lane combination of Gala and Ming.
Yeah, the heal from the Yuumi, not there to be used. The ult from the Yuumi, just the general healing from a kit as well. All these things would have meant RNG would have had to land more damage to find that play. As a result, they capitalize on the fact that Smlz was left alone, and ShiauC will use the ult to kind of clear out that wave and ward them off, but can't really do more to punish them in this situation. And it's just, again, a slip-up from the spot lane of Ultra Prime. I kind of praise them for bringing out this bit of innovation we've seen in the LCK to counter the Ziggs, but if you're making mistakes like this, RNG are going to be completely fine. And right now, thanks to those plates, Gala is about 900 gold up in the matchup.
Yeah, and this is the big thing. Now they know that the Lee Sin is on top side. Great ward just spots him out there. Xiaohu playing so respectfully, and now with that information, the dragon goes down. It's going to be an Infernal Rift, so RNG stacking that one nicely. And I think Ultra Prime, they're feeling like they have to force this issue in topside because the Rift Herald is here. They're trying to get as much use out of this as possible, but Ming has already found himself back up here. So with an Ignite, this is just a really hard play to make stick. At Ultra Prime, they're floundering a little bit.
Yeah, at this point, the Ziggs is pretty self-sufficient. Has the Lost Chapter, so can just kind of demolish waves. And do you see Wei coming down, but will just scare off Ultra Prime's bot lane. And yeah, Ming being on the top side meant that they couldn't really go for that play. I think they were trying to find a pick onto Xiaohu before they go for it. But ZS might be picked himself. Isma able just to slice and dice away.
Oh, but the Shurima shuffle there. They do get the Emperor's Divide. Shockwave does not land onto Cryin as he flashes himself away. Rift Herald does crash into mid lane, but again, they only really get 2 plates off of it. And that all goes into ZS's back pocket. So RNG, they respond to the Rift Herald. They do not lose anything else. A couple of flashes burn, but they won't be unhappy with that trade.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best Herald. It's just the 2 plates mid, but I kind of prefer them using it mid rather than top. That was one of the limitations with it being ZS having it. Obviously, mid tower, pretty important one to take down, especially when you're up against the Ziggs and Azir. It's going to be problematic later. Now, all in top.
TP. There's a TP, though, coming in. That's going to be Xiaohu joining in on this fight, but Xiaohu doesn't know, and now Xiaohu might be in a lot of trouble. Those clockwork auto attacks doing so much damage. It's going to be Xiaohu. Bow! Nearly getting turned on, but does survive all of the burst damage from Xiaohu and gets himself a kill.
And honestly, that looked like it nearly could have been ZS fighting the solo kill himself. But I respect the fact that they commit the TP. They don't look for a skill check against Xiaohu, which I think anyone who's watched RNG will agree would be a bold one to go for. And they commit to it, the TP, to find the play. The downside, though, is that RNG are very quick to respond. They're just applying that pressure mid, getting those plates with that extra attack speed from both the Olaf and the Azir. And so, yes, they lost that 1 kill on the top side, but in terms of gold, they're probably actually trading, you know, pretty evenly with extra waves as well, probably trading up.
Yeah, there's going to be Cryin, as you see, and engage down this bot side. And Mega Inferno Bomb has been used, as has the final chapter. So both big AoE ultimates down here for the support and AD carry of Ultra Prime and RNG respectfully. But yeah, look at the gold now on the right-hand side. It's pretty even in the top, in terms of the top side, the mid lane, jungle. It's that bot lane where RNG are getting the most success, where they do end up having about a 700 gold lead there for their AD carry.
Which is a bit of a disaster, considering that was kind of where I felt pretty confident for Ultra Prime when they came with the draft. But mistakes happen. I think the big thing for me is looking towards this dragon in 2 minutes, right? It's an Infernal Soul. Infernal Soul with Ziggs and Jayce is honestly it's a bit self-indulgent. It's a bit overkill. Like, it is
just a little bit
very egregious, I would say. It's going to be insane, and especially when Ultra Prime's composition isn't the longest range, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. So Ultra Prime very likely going to have to contest this dragon in a minute 45, and that's the thing, is whether or not they can do that. Oh, engage comes in.
Xiaohu does lose his flash, but does gain Ming's for it. But why would you walk forward into that? You know they're around, and that's just going to be a very easy pickup as Hacker and ShiauC look to try and defend this mid lane turret. And like you mentioned, with a minute and a half until this dragon, RNG are in no rush to try and get that objective. They can take everything else they want. They can put up the Shurima's legacy and now rotate towards that Rift Herald.
Yeah, and this makes it very difficult for Ultra Prime to contest mid priority. Obviously, with Xiaohu losing flash as well, he's a vulnerability in the next team fight. And RNG, not only do they get first tower, but because of that pressure mid, they can translate that into a tower top for Xiaohu. So what went from being a 2k gold lead and Ultra Prime being like, yeah, they pretty much need to fight, has now gone to a 3k gold lead. Second Herald's going to get picked up here by RNG, and I'm starting to feel a little bit concerned. It's 50 seconds till that dragon, and one thing I can praise is that Hacker is moving with ShiauC to get some aggressive vision, but I just feel like if RNG won this dragon, they should be able to contest it.
Oh, Gala in a lot of trouble, gets kicked back, dropped down the Mega Inferno Bomb, but he is dead to right. ShiauC taking a couple of turret shots for that play in the bot side. He will be available once this dragon spawns, but he has no TP, so it's going to be a little bit of a walk here for Gala. It's going to be onto RNG to delay Ultra Prime for setting up around this dragon, and exactly what you said, they are looking to try and contest it. Ming is around this corner. Cryin might be in a little bit of trouble. He has to use his ultimate straight away. The final chapter does get the lockdown, and Cryin has fallen. Great combination by the support and jungler, but Smlz gets jumped on by Ming and Xiaohu, and this is so scrappy, Ox. Both teams just taking chip for chip off each other.
Yeah, really good answer from RNG, but Hacker is just finding kill after kill. They're looking for more here.
They're jumping on the Ming. That's a shockwave committed onto the support. Will he go down? Yes, he will, but it's going to be committing so much. Now you can see them turning back onto this Renekton. Where's he going to go? He's going to be totally okay, though, with the Gore Drinker and the Q to keep him sustained. But now Gala back onto the map. Does he look to try and get some more kills down? Doesn't land any of his poke just yet. It's just Xiaohu and Gala. Cryin has a TP available should he want to use it, but this is a risky play to go for Ultra Prime. Now we can go back into the Dragon Pit. TP coming in. It's going to be going down. No smite available. They're going to bring it down to about 400. Secured by Ultra Prime. RNG going to back away. They don't want to take any more casualties.
Honestly, beautiful play from Ultra Prime. I cannot praise this enough, particularly Hacker. We had a 3,000 gold lead for RNG. I was concerned about the team fight, but you know that they can't give up this third dragon freely. They've managed to close that gold lead massively, and it's on the back of these picks. They picked off the Ziggs. Great moves from Hacker on that one. They then follow up with the Azir kill. And RNG, they aren't sitting around. They managed to go for a play onto Smlz and take him down. But again, Ultra Prime are like, we need to very confidently have an advantage on this dragon, so they keep looking for more. They commit the shockwave here onto Ming, and it forces RNG to either let the support go or commit to the fight. And the thing is, it's a numbers advantage for Ultra Prime. The Yuumi giving a ton of value to the Renekton here with that healing, and then as a result, they're able not only to get that one kill on the Leona, but onto Wei as well. It secures them the dragon, it closes that gold gap a bit, and it keeps them in this game. Really good play from Hacker there.
You can see here from RNG picking up 2 Oblivion Orbs, knowing that the healing reduction on the Grievous Wounds is very much needed. They still have about a 2,000 gold lead. They're not out of this game just yet, but for RNG, definitely going to be a little bit more careful when it comes to this later fights. They did lose the dragons. It's a 1 dragon in the lead for them, but not really in a position to get much else out of it. You can see with the top side now being firmly in the control of Ultra Prime. They will trade bot tier 1 for top tier 1, so the map is opening up that little bit more. Ultra Prime getting themselves their first dragon, but we completely forgot there is still a Rift Herald, and they could push this into an inhibitor turret because honestly, no one from Ultra Prime is resetting.
Yeah, assist pings coming in from Zedaz. He's seeing this as a bit of a problem, but I don't think there's really much you can do. He's just going to get Shurima shuffled back if he tries to go in here, so they end up taking the inhibitor tower as well. And with how threatening Xiaohu has been in the side lane earlier in this game, this is a little bit problematic for the side of Ultra Prime. I think they looked for a trade and RNG just took too much.
Wei is getting jumped on. Final chapter has been used. We're going to see Ming jumping in. That's going to be the Olaf taken down, dead and buried, but a great amount of burst damage here. But here's the Shurima shuffle, all on top of everybody. Now you got to try and run away. There's nowhere for you to go, Xiaohu, and Ming will survive. 4 quick kills. Baron spawning in 20 seconds. I think RNG are looking for it.
I think they can just rush it, honestly. It's only ZS up and available. Xiaohu had just used his TP as well, so he's going to be nowhere near. And again, this team has an Azir, has a Jayce. Even a Ziggs actually does decent damage to Baron, just with how quickly he can spam his Q. So this thing is going to go down fast.
It's going to be so quick, and you don't even have Wei or Ming with you. You don't even have your smite there available, but look at Hacker. He's a man on a mission. He already just put down a ward and safeguard straight away towards it. Xiaohu taking a little bit more damage than he probably would like. Ming flashes over the wall.
He's committing.
Just to commit to this. There's no smite available just yet. That was a little bit risky, and now do RNG look for the fight? No, they get themselves out. They know that they've used majority of their abilities, and they need to get back and spend some of this gold.
They got what they wanted, and they got away with it. Now have a 6k gold lead. In this play, you know, Hack has been good at finding these picks, but Wei is a hard target to take down, and they didn't respect the Azir flank. They commit heavily into this. They deal a ton of damage to this Olaf, but then Cryin beautifully slides in here, right onto the minefield with the Shurima shuffle. And then Ming doesn't even actually end up going down somehow, but even if he had, it's still just a massive win for the side of RNG. And credit to Ultra Prime for keeping things close to that point, but RNG just do RNG things and give themselves a massive gold lead and the Baron off the back of that play.
5,000 gold. Baron at a power play now hitting up. They are a little bit behind, of course. They did have to take the Baron and immediately reset, so they're only really getting onto the map now. And you'll see once the items pop up as well, the Ziggs and the Azir pretty much on identical build paths right now. Both have the Leandri's Tournament, both have the Morellonomicon, both with the Sorcerer's Series, even both have 5 stacks on their Dark Seals.
That's the question for you, Penguin. Who copied who, right? Is Cryin copying Gala? Is Gala copying Cryin? Because it seems like someone's been looking at someone else's homework in this one.
Yeah, just change it up a little bit so they don't think you copied. Okay, I'll pick a corrupting potion, no problem. Okay. I'll swap that out, it'd be no issue.
You're not wrong, you're not wrong.
It's literally just the smallest little detail that changes it up. It's like, you be 214, I'll be 213. Okay, got it. You know, you think you're being smart as a 12-year-old in class. Just like, there's no way they'll see us copying this. But Smlz now in a little bit of trouble. Does land the slow. There's the Mega Inferno bomb down onto him. Does pop out both ultimates from the Sivir and the Yuumi. So now, RNG, they can push in. There's very little that our Ultra Prime can do about this, and with the pressure that we're seeing with ShiauC on bot lane, there's actually going to be the base cracked open again and again. We're seeing RNG just so quick and so smart with how they move around the map.
Yeah, and with the Ziggs, you have that tower taking power and very quickly able to establish that pressure. And as much as Ultra Prime, you know, they didn't have the Orianna, the rest of them were there, but they kind of just got routed. The poke that came onto Smlz forced them to take a very safe route, and RNG are now going to be able to move another dragon. I don't think a contest can come through on this one. Hack is looking for a window, but it's just going to be gone. Now 3 dragons for RNG on that soul point, and I mean, you're already seeing how much damage the Ziggs is doing whenever he lands, you know, a bouncing bomb. Add that Infernal Soul, and it's going to look rough.
It is pretty damn rough right now for Ultra Prime. We kind of go back to draft a little bit. You know, we mentioned the Yuumi and the Orianna, but tend to see the Orianna and the Yuumi work exceptionally well when you have a draft like, say, a Kog'Maw Lulu, or, you know, something that can be a hyper carry towards that late game. With the build direction Smlz has gone with the Prowler's Claw and the Manamune, it's not really the same level of hyper carry, the big crit ADCs that we have seen in the past, and it doesn't really lend itself to that late game scaling. So even looking at this right now, I feel like the Ziggs is just going to have a lot more power in these later game team fights just because he's going to have a lot more damage at his disposal.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you know, if Smlz full lethality hits a Q onto Cryin or Gala, it is going to do a ton of damage. But it's just not going to happen that often because Gala can stand 5 miles away, you know, and he can throw a bouncing bomb out every like couple of seconds. And if one of those hits a target on Ultra Prime, they just get chunked heavily. And I think this is the thing, is that the range on RNG is so hard to deal with. I think Ultra Prime came in with a smart draft with, you know, the bot lane Yuumi counter. I think honestly they had some good early to mid plays, but now that they've fallen behind on the back of that excellent team fight from RNG, it kind of feels like they're in a bit of a hole. They need RNG to make a mistake. They need someone to overstep and get hit by that boomerang blade. And I'm sorry to say it, Penguin, but it looks like the homework copying is in full force because they've sold the star here.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You keep your ward trinket. I'll use blue trinket. It's golden. They won't know. No one will have an idea. But speaking of having an idea, it's RNG have the idea of pushing into this mid lane. Perfect segue. No one noticed the thing as they now push into this inhibitor turret, or even just the inhibitor. ZS is pop the dominance on the backside. We can see there flashing by Hacker, but he stopped immediately there. I'm going to try and take the consolation prize, though, of the Jayce, who does get shut down. And that's a good little start now to this fight, but there's no real objective up at the moment. So RNG just going to back themselves away. But for Ultra Prime, a defense of your inhibitor is a win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good fight. It's a good win. You can see Hacker doing his best to try and find the kick on a Gala, but he ends up flashing. And credit to them, they actually get the flash from Cryin and Gala, which will both be down for that dragon fight. But you can see, even though they get that initial kill, it's so hard to continue chasing into the Ziggs because he'll just throw down minefields or throw down bouncing bombs. And as soon as one hits, you just get massively chunked. And you'll see that here. So Hacker, credit to him to try and make this happen. Dashes in, goes for the wood hop. He wants to get the kick, but the stun from Ming stops him, so he has to move further into the fight just to finish off Xiaohu. And as a result of him not being able to kick Gala back in, he's not able to really continue things after that Jayce pick. Now, they have found way. Ragnarok up in a second, but not quite yet.
Oh, Xiaohu did TP over the top side as well, so they're going full onto Wei, so he is dead with 20 seconds to this Baron. This is a great pick, but with so much damage from the Ziggs coming in finally as that death cap can pop down the minefield as well. It's a jungle for jungle trade, but this time round, RNG are getting revenge for their top laner dying in the last skirmish. They are now throwing out the poke, they are now throwing out all these bombs, all these accelerated shock blasts, but you have to respect the damage that can come out from this Orianna and this Sivir. Smlz a little bit on an island. ShiauC just getting healed up right now. No shockwave available, though. So much being put in here onto ShiauC. He needs to back himself away. And with Baron live, I don't know if RNG want to go for it just yet. They want their jungler here.
Yeah, I mean, they might actually be fishing for it now. It seems a little bit risky. I think Smlz has to stay. But no, the Yuumi and the Orianna go back to base. This is now just up to the Sivir to try and stop this. We do have TP from ZS, but it's going to be too late. The Baron is gone.
Baron is gone. Smlz just had to play so defensive. You can see just the vision control around that pit, around that river, just not really able to put himself in a position to throw out the boomerang blade. And we'll have a look at the replay because this was Ultra Prime trying to be proactive. This was Ultra Prime looking to try and kill off way before that Baron spawned to put pressure on RNG, and it just totally backfired.
And the thing is, we've kind of seen that before, where Ultra Prime find a successful pick, but then they try and continue the fight, they try and overchase, and RNG are so good at punishing that. You can take out one member, but they will end up returning fire. Now, they're setting off this dragon in 20 seconds. We've already seen how disgusting the poke is from this team composition. It's gonna get so much worse if they get the Infernal Soul. And a big thing to mention, Rabadons for Gala, Rabadons for Cryin. Copy him once again, but both of these just gonna be doing so much damage off the back of that massive power spike. And Ultra Prime trying to move through this choke is very risky.
It's so difficult. Hacker just gets obliterated. 2 spells and then a Mega Inferno Bomb on top of it. That pops the Sterix Gate, so his survivability in this contending team fight. He's dead. He's gone. He's deleted. Popped like a pimple on the face of RNG. They did not want that blemish anymore. And now with Smlz running for his life, he will flash away. The final chapter goes down. And while that was all happening, Wei stayed on the dragon, gets the Infernal Soul, and RNG may look for the end right here, right now.
It's so hard for Ultra Prime to stop them. The poke is so insane. They just kill Hacker before this fight even starts, and he was one of the tankier members of Ultra Prime. The spell shield coming in clutch there, but Xiaohu just killed him.
God, that Jayce damage is disgusting. Shockwave comes out, but it's not enough to kill off Gala, and that's going to be 2 quick kills here for RNG. Infernal Soul, 9,000 gold. They're pushing into the Nexus. There's nothing that Ultra Prime can do. Even with a little Shurima shuffle, the tankiest member gets taken down immediately, and there's Hacker trying his very, very best, and Yuumi will fall as well. Triple to end it all for Xiaohu, despite being targeted, still ends on 9-3-3. And RNG decisively take down Ultra Prime.
And you know what's the saddest thing about this? There were definitely mistakes, don't get me wrong, but I don't think Ultra Prime played that bad in this game. I think RNG are just insane. It's just like, you know, they kept finding those good picks. That setup for that third Dragon Denial from Hacker was really good, and I really enjoyed seeing that. And I think there was a lot of positives, but then RNG decided they want to win the game, and every time that pick was just answered with those beautiful team fights. And then again, the composition just scaled so well. It felt like, you know, Ultra Prime needed a bit more early momentum, because when it hit those later stages, the Ziggs poke, the Jayce poke was just, there was no way of dealing with it.
That's the thing. You had healing, yes, but when you have so much at such a frequency being thrown at you, it's just, what can you do about it? Like, you had Xiaohu, despite having a, like, again, I think ZS started off really well. He was 3-0-2 at some point. He was having a great game on the Renekton. Xiaohu was 3-3-2, I believe, at one point as well. So they were able to keep Xiaohu down, but he's still putting out 26,000 damage. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and my kind of question is the value of this Renekton pick, because, you know, it held up okay in the top lane, but in the team fights, it was just pretty underwhelming. And then the other problem was that there wasn't too much strong engage from the side of Ultra Prime. You know, Hacker was doing a great job of filling that role, but, you know, there's a lot of other picks you potentially take on the top side that could have done more of that. And I just feel like when it came to those mid to late game points, there was no way to deal with Cryin or Gala. Well, I mean, even Xiaohu was very hard to get on top of, and them just being able to play at such a distance made things problematic for the side of Ultra Prime. So definitely is criticism to be levied, definitely things they can do better looking at this game too, but I think this is very much the RNG that we are seeing recently, and then delivering a convincing win in game 1.
This is our 12th place team, Dan. It's a team that aren't even technically in playoffs right now. Obviously, It's a little disingenuous to say that because of how good they are, and we know they're the MSI champions, but the LPL's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that there's two sides to it, okay? I think it's been such a competitive season. There's so many rosters who I feel that I have a lot of confidence in. And it kind of shows from the fact that RNG had a rough start. You know, they were competing against these other rosters who are strong, but on the other side, they were slow to start. Obviously, MSI kind of delayed them being able to prepare for the start of the split, and it feels like they are here in full force. So, irrespective of their current scoreline, I think the play we're seeing now is truly indicative of RNG, and really it's on Ultra Prime if they can answer back after this game 1. I'm hoping that the positives in that one mean they should be able to bounce back, at least with a good mentality.
We'll see if they're able to do that. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we return, picks and bans for game 2.